Hey guys, what is up? Sam or Scorpiolo here, bringing you guys some awesome Call of Duty 2020 zombies in this game that we now know is called Black Ops Cold War. I am so excited for this game, and we are finally seeming to be starting to get our first hints at zombies. This leak is actually coming at us from over on Reddit, and we're going to explain why a lot of this does seem to suggest that it could possibly be very legitimate information. But we're going to talk about that more as we go through the information we have here, but let's just get right into it. So let's start off with one of our biggest details here, being that the leaker claims that he saw 4 maps, all of which are actually coming on launch. Now this could be hard to pull off due to the shorter and troubled development that this game has had, where it was originally in the hands of Raven and Sledgehammer, and then Treyarch just came in a lot more recently and took over and started to lead this development, but Treyarch's main focus is on zombies in this game, so this could have allowed it to be possible. As we know, in this game, Treyarch will be focusing on both zombies and the campaign, while Sledgehammer will be handling the multiplayer. This means that through the entire DLC season, Treyarch will be focused on our Zombies DLC, whilst beginning work on their next game, which will likely be a sequel to this one. As we know, we are back in that 2-year development cycle that we used to be on, back in the good old days of COD, and a sequel to Modern Warfare will actually be coming in 2021, and it seems likely we'll get a sequel to this directly after in 2022. It seems likely that they'd want this 4 map number again after BO4, as despite the controversial nature of those maps on launch, and what is generally considered to be a heavily mixed bag of quality to the average consumer of the game, they're not going to want to appear to have less content on launch compared to their previous title in the franchise, so we'll likely never go back to the concept of only having 2 maps on launch, since people would just think they're getting less value for their money. So let's start off with the exciting stuff, and what seems to be our first hints towards our brand new storyline, which will take up the future of zombies. The leaks are claiming that what we would see is a map set inside a Vietnam jungle with a river of blood flowing throughout, and that there are rat tunnels present too, but so far their use is unknown. Another map he claims will come from this new world is a Shangri-La type map, again set in Vietnam, within a forest, but he says he didn't actually see too much from this one, just that there was a very Shangri-La-esque vibe, a very cool Vietnam temple, and this makes sense, there's a lot of cool jungle temple type settings in Vietnam that they could explore for this. Now we do know from Jason Schreier, a very reliable source over at Kotaku, that the working title for this game was at one point Call of Duty Vietnam, so it's clear that war will play a key role in this game, mainly in the campaign, but overall it makes sense that much like they did with World War II zombies, that they try to make their zombies fit very thematically close to the type of story told in the campaign, as this new story could actually include some of those characters as our lead crew. Now that Ether is over, Treyarch needs a new storyline to lead them into the future, but the crew present in this storyline will need to be iconic and recognisable enough that Activision are confident that it will be able to maintain interest in the post-launch content. As we see, Chaos Story didn't really manage to do with that crew, and that now sadly seems to be a scrap storyline we may never see a resolution to. The classic Treyarch Zombies characters with Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey are very iconic now, to the point where people will see them and they will know it's a Treyarch Zombies map and they will want to go out and play it as soon as it drops. In every non-Treyarch installment of the game, they've gone with a top tier celebrity crew, as we saw in Exo Zombies, Infinite Warfare and World War II. But there's a clear way that Treyarch, unlike other studios, are in a unique position to get this big name recognition without bringing in expensive celebrity voice actors. The obvious answer is to just use the classic Black Ops campaign characters. We already know both Woods and Mason do appear in this game in the first mission of the campaign for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, so the voice actors for both will already be involved in this game, whether it's the original actors or if they recast them like was done for Captain Price this year with the Modern Warfare remake. The original Black Ops has so much nostalgia surrounding it that seeing these characters lead a new zombie storyline would definitely be enough to get people invested. And also, they're pretty damn awesome characters who, as we've got to know them in the campaign, have got some really memorable moments, some really memorable quotes, to the point I think people would really care if these guys came into zombies. And people have been speculating for this for a long time. There's even a poster at Raven Software of Woods in a Zombies map. So it's clear it was apparently planned at one point in Black Ops 1 for Woods to appear in a Zombies map. Could they finally follow up on that now? You never know. What's interesting is he also claims to have seen a grey box map, which is just an early development build and was impossible to tell exactly what it would go on to become, but it would probably be revealed closer to launch. Something like this is actually very realistic to the state the game should be in right now. We've still got a decent while to go until launch, around the 6-month mark, and we do know Zombies is one of the last things that actually gets made for a Call of Duty game after the campaign is all done, so at this point they should still have quite a bit of development work needed. Mentioning something like this existing where they're so early on in development that it's just a box to map out the shape and layout of it makes it seem a bit more realistic and legitimate of a leak. So if it were to turn out to be fake, then it has in fact been very well thought through. To speculate a bit on what this extra map could be, our other 3 maps that we've got here, the 2 I've already talked about and the one we're going on to next, are likely our main launch maps that will be on disc on the game. I would speculate that this map, since they're doing it last, will be something of a pre-order bonus or maybe a bonus for some kind of season pass, similar to what we've seen Classified be within Black Ops 4, so hopefully this is an awesome map. I think it will be a more survival, simplistic type of map, probably set within the brand new story that we've just talked about. Now let's talk about the only remake this claims to be coming at launch, and that is Tranzit. Reliable sources have confirmed to us this map has been completely finished for around a year now, alongside Die Rise and Buried, as both of those maps were all originally planned to be packaged as a Black Ops 4 DLC 5, with significant portions of these maps' content present across Blackout and multiplayer. So it's very clear Treyarch were keen to incorporate these maps into Black Ops 4, as we know Activision like to get the most use they can out of the assets they develop, so reusing stuff like this, like Ghost Town in Blackout, the Diner in Blackout, we've got a whole multiplayer map dedicated to Zombies Remnants, so reusing these assets in other modes across the game does make a ton of sense business-wise. The leak goes on to claim that the remake of this map, which will obviously be ported over to this new engine, will in fact not feature fog, denizens, or lava, and will all round be in a less destroyed state. This makes perfect sense. We do know these maps were made as remakes, not remastered, so it makes sense that they would want to remove all the things that made people hate the original, and fog was only really there due to the hardware restrictions of the older consoles. That obviously wouldn't be needed anymore due to the masses of graphical power in the PS5 and the Series X, and even our current gen consoles are significantly more capable than the older ones. There was at one point back in Black Ops 2 a version of Tranzit in development that would have served as an additional version that wasn't totally destroyed and was much more beautiful, and this actually would have come out alongside the one we got, so you would have been able to play one pre-Moon, where the world is not yet destroyed, and one after Moon being what we actually got. Some other leaks from more reputable sources have told us this map would also feature a Bus Route B Easter egg, which makes perfect sense, whether it's a large scale main or side quest, or even just a little nod to its existence. It's something that would get the community so hyped, because it's something that for such a long time, people were so certain that a second route for that bus existed in the game. TGR has also said the same source who leaked to him a lot of accurate information for the Modern Warfare reboot this year that allowed him to literally leak the entire contents of this game, has strongly hinted to him that Tranzit will be a launch map for this game, so I definitely go with this part of the leak as being 100% true. Interestingly, this is the only one of those 3 Victor's remakes here that are actually listed as a launch map, so it's very possible the rest, including Die Rise and Buried, would come throughout the DLC season as some throwbacks to our old storyline maybe, totally disconnected from the new ones set out in these maps, because obviously Tag the Totem did wrap up Ether. It makes sense to start something fresh, but keep that little old connection going as just a little bit of nostalgia vibe. When it comes to the storyline of a Tranzit remake, we don't really know when this map could take place, as with the Ether storyline having finally come to a close in Tag the Totem, and all of the evil as well as the Victus crew having been banished to the Dark Ether, it's entirely possible we could see it take place after Tag within the Dark Ether itself. Or this could simply be a prequel and happen before we see Victus arrive in Siberia, as people had long speculated back in Black Ops 4 that the DLC 5 would have been a prequel to that ending. Then again, they could always choose to remake this map outside of the Ether storyline, with their new crew in a new storyline, and simply bring over a lot of the concepts from the original, as it sounds like with all the changes made, it would flow like a totally different map. Obviously, these maps were made for BO4, so they will need a massive graphical revamp to bring them up to the standard of the new engine that will be returning from Modern Warfare into Black Ops Cold War, as well as updating the graphics to look competent alongside other PS5 and Xbox Series X titles, which the Call of Duty 2020 will in fact be launching on. It's going to be very interesting to see how zombies will actually play on this new engine. As those of you who have played Modern Warfare will know, it feels very different, a lot more realistic, a lot more like other FPS games, so it's going to be very interesting to see how amazing zombies could look and flow in this world. They could create a proper horror vibe that would just be absolutely insanely atmospheric and really make you feel like you're in all these different places. So far, nobody has been able to confirm the legitimacy of this leak yet, but I do know many reliable people are working to do so. What I will say is a lot of this information does make sense based on what we already know about zombies in this game so far, which is very little. However, a lot of the stuff here is much smaller details and quite vague, so they could just as easily be clever guesses. Although to me, a lot of this stuff does feel very believable, and these are the kind of maps I could imagine Treyarch wanting to push forward with in a new storyline with something that's a lot more driven by the campaign. While we know very minimal about this game's zombies modes, there's a bit more we can gather from other more reliable and established sources, such as Victor, the Chinese leaker over on Twitter who gave us plenty of accurate scoops on pre-launch Modern Warfare last year. He's been telling us that this game will feature a big mix of old and new gameplay. Also, I think most importantly, hinting that classic perks like Juggernaut will be making a return. And why wouldn't they, honestly? It's pretty clear the community didn't respond well to the changes BO4 made to the perks, and in general the zombies experience we know and love. So it's likely we won't actually see many of the features from that game returning in Black Ops Cold War. From everything we know about this, it sounds like the game will feel more like the successor to BO3 that we actually wanted, more than we actually got from Black Ops 4. One other leak we do know, interestingly, is that apparently these new maps will feature a lot more doors than we used to, which is an interesting addition, but I'm looking forward to seeing where we go from it. An interesting thing to consider with zombies in this game is the post-launch content plan. Modern Warfare has followed a model where everything beside cosmetics has been given away totally free in a much more consumer-friendly approach. It's possible we could see a zombies pass, since these maps obviously take a lot more work to develop than something like multiplayer and Spec Ops, so it could be too much of a financial loss to actually give all these away for free. Then again, bringing back a season pass will give away a bit of a public impression that Activision are going back to their old ways of being a bit more financially greedy. I know one thing a lot of people are wondering is, when the hell is this game going to be revealed? Well, as we do now know, a lot is going on in Call of Duty Modern Warfare right now, and Activision really don't like to conflict their brands by overly doing things too close together. And as currently the hype for that game is running high and more people are talking about Call of Duty than they have since Black Ops 3, with all the stuff going on in Warzone, with the bunkers and all the mysteries there around where that live event is going, and then going into the Season 4 update in just a couple of weeks' time, they're just not going to want to take attention away from that. So I don't believe we will actually be seeing the Call of Duty 2020 reveal until much later on. Probably around into mid-June kind of time. I know it's not what a lot of people want to hear, but they're going to want to get Season 4 out, keep the hype for a couple of weeks, and then we'll start to hop over to Call of Duty 2020. I'm expecting that while we do know this game is still coming in the fall, I think it will be a little bit later than the October release we've got used to. Possibly November or maybe even December, but we do know for sure they're going to want this out before Christmas to get that massive boost in sales. But with that, guys, I think that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to show your support. I'll see you on more Call of Duty Zombies videos. Bye!